I am Teresa Weather, I'm your superintendent of school, and it is truly my pleasure to open this school in this neighborhood. It is a beautiful neighborhood. I was just sharing that I went to a neighborhood school, so I believe in neighborhood schools. It's really important to have roots here. My daughter attended Ridgemoor Spectrum, the Gifted and Talented program for many years. And so I was just pleased to open this to give to children in the Grand Rapids Public Schools. The property, as many of you know, the property in this district belongs to all of us. And as taxpayers and as members of the community, we said that we believe in the transformation plan, and we believe that parents and community members should have a voice. And that came through loud and clear when the community gave us our bond for $175 million. One of the things I said 5 years ago when I took the position to become your superintendent, it was that we would grow the district and we would invest in the future for a long term. And this is what we're doing here in this neighborhood, in this community, is to allow our children to go to school in their neighborhood. And it's a great thing. Even if you don't tax children to attend this particular program, I say to you, you need to become involved. Schools only succeed when community members get involved. So we like to invite folks to the schools, even if they don't have children. I say come and participate and be a part of what we're doing, be a part of this movement in the Grand Rapids Public Schools. I'm going to turn it over to John Hemholt. You can ask us anything that you'd like, anything that you thought you wanted to know about Montessori or about the school or about how we're moving forward.
Open this beautiful school that is ready to be reopened and renovated and available to not only just this neighborhood but also throughout the city, as it would be a citywide themed school. I too actually attended Spectrum here back when I was a Shawmut Hills elementary student many moons ago, so this building means a lot to me. I also have been a district representative on the Montessori Advisory Council, working closely with our principals, teachers, and parents to really revitalize and grow our Montessori program. And that was something we're going to talk a little bit about here, but it's been many years in the making to the point where we've reached such this critical mass where the level of growth and interest among parents and students in the Montessori school method is off the charts. We have waiting lists for both North Park Montessori, for Grand Rapids Montessori, which is one of the reasons why we said, let's reopen Ridgemoor Park. Let's stake a flag on the southeast side in this beautiful neighborhood where one of my best friends, Mikey LaMonaco, grew up just down the street here. And so what I'd like to do tonight is first, I'm going to walk you through a little bit about Montessori, just a little bit, what is Montessori, why it is a proven and very successful academic choice, and then talk a little bit about what we're hoping to do with the renovations to this facility and how it's accessible to the students that live in this neighborhood, who essentially get first dibs at any slot that's available at this school. So what is Montessori? And by the way, interrupt right in the middle. Anytime you have questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Let me know if you have a question or a comment. So it was developed by Dr. Maria Montessori. This unique method of instruction is very child-centered. It was based on the research that was done by Dr. Montessori, and it had over 100 years of success in working with diverse cultures throughout the world. You know, this actually came out of Italy, and then it just kind of caught fire and eventually spread throughout Europe, North America, and other countries. And the method continues to kind of grow. In fact, and we'll see this later, Grand Rapids Public Schools, we made history more than 40 years ago when we opened up the first pre-K through 12th grade public Montessori school. That was Grand Rapids Montessori, something we're very proud of today. And here we're going to continue that tradition of investing in Montessori programming by reopening Ridgemoor Park. Some of the components of Montessori include multi-age groupings that foster peer learning, uninterrupted blocks of work time. So the multi-age groupings, they'll take like our children's house, which is preschool, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade. They'll be all in one class. And so the teacher will be able to differentiate and group those students based on where they're at academically. So you could have a first grader who may be struggling with math or is excelling in ELA. That teacher can differentiate their instruction and really help to work with the multi-age groupings to ensure that those students are getting the right education, the right teaching, and helping to develop them academically, socially, and emotionally. The uninterrupted blocks of work time, guided choice of work activities, so the students are very hands-on in helping to decide what they're going to be taught, what they're going to be learned. Obviously, we have a structure and a format for how we go about doing this, but we engage the students. We believe the students need to be invested in their own education, and they take a degree of ownership in how they're going to be part of their everyday teaching and learning. There are specially designed Montessori learning materials, and it's much more hands-on. The students are not just sitting in neat rows. They're engaging with these Montessori materials. They're working in groups with other students who could be in different age groups. And we have an aesthetically pleasing environment. You want it to be warm and welcoming and not just a sit and get method of teaching and learning. Ms. Carrie Reed, who is our principal back here of Grand Rapids Montessori, she's the ultimate expert on this, so she can always chime in and answer the questions.
We have some teachers here too.
And we've got a couple teachers here, so they're even more. I'm the spokesperson, so I'm an inch deep and a mile wide on about all of this, so you all just have to nod or shake your heads if I'm accurate or not. So, what are the benefits of Montessori? There are many. This offers the opportunities to develop their potential as they step out in the world. They need to be engaged, they need to be competent, they need to be responsible and respectful. It's teaching these students how to be good citizens, how to be citizens in their classroom, how to be citizens in their neighborhood, in the school as a whole, in our great city and in the region. And that's something that is part of the Montessori method, of really shaping the character and the being of that child so that they really are prepared for that real world and global economy. And if there's anything we learned recently in the election, we need those students to be prepared, to be confident, enthusiastic, self-directed, and really part of their global learning. Another benefit of Montessori is each child is valued as unique individuals. They really work as a team within the cohort of students to develop the relationships with students, develop that relationship between their peers, but the teacher to the students and the different groups, and really build off the assets that each child brings to the table and work together so they are helping each other achieve their academic potential. Students develop order, coordination, concentration, and independence. Again, this is not just your normal sit and get. The students, it's much more hands-on learning, group-based learning, where the students are as much part of their education and teaching each other as the Montessori trained teacher is helping to facilitate the teaching and learning that's occurring in the classroom. It is a very close-knit, caring community. If you get a chance, if you've ever gone to Grand Rapids Montessori, North Park Montessori, it just exudes that love, caring, that customer service, the welcomeness that you come to expect in a class. The students do enjoy some freedom within the limits. Again, this is not just your out-of-the-box education. It's much more hands-on, much more student-centric. And it engages not just the students, but also their families. So this is a very parent-engaged, parent-friendly form of education where the students' parents are as much part of the school as the children themselves. Joyous learning, students are supported in being active seekers of knowledge. There's also the self-correction and self-assessment. Failure is not something to shy away from. Failure is learn how to succeed and to continue to build from those areas, to explore what are those potentials, and to try things, and knowing that sometimes you'll fail, but then you can continue to build on your education, and really, what do you learn from that failure, and then how do we grow, not only as an individual, but as a group of students, as a class, as a school. They are given freedom and support to question and probe deeply and to make those connections. The Montessori students become confident, enthusiastic, and self-directed. Again, it goes back to what we know about 21st century education and preparing students for the real world and the global economy. The Montessori method is right in line with what we know students need to be in this new global economy, that's self-directed, self-motivated, critical thinkers, risk takers, problem solvers, those who are willing to also work with a group of people to problem solve and not just go it alone. So the history of Montessori, in 1907, Dr. Maria Montessori opens the Casa dei Bambini, or Children's House, in a low-income district in Rome. And that's where this interest kind of first sparked. It kind of gained that international acclaim, and educators across the world started really exploring and developing the Montessori method and introducing these schools throughout the country and throughout the world. In the 1920s, apparently the movement in the United States kind of fizzled a little bit, where there was huge growth, and again, I can imagine that was in the midst of an economic recession. We had a few other things going on right around that time. In 1970 is when we opened the nation's first pre-K-12 public Montessori, and that's Grand Rapids Montessori. It's still standing today, currently housed in the original Fountain Building, right there on Central High School campus. There's the elementary building, which is the Fountain Building, and then the Central High School facility, where, is it just high school that's in that one, or do you have middle school and high school?
Middle and high.
Middle and high are in the Central Building, the pre-K-5 are in the Fountain Building. In 2010, Grand Rapids and North Park Montessori kind of began that period of growth. There was a Montessori task force. Is that next one? Okay. I'll get to that in a second. To give you an example, Michigan is a leader in Montessori method. We have more than 75 public and private Montessori schools throughout the state of Michigan. And just in West Michigan alone, if you go all the way out to the lake shore, I think there's maybe a half dozen to a dozen. In 2009, there was a task force that was brought together where the concern was that particularly the high school itself was kind of dying on the vine. We only had a couple handfuls of kids that were going through the Grand Rapids Montessori High School. It was not a pure Montessori high school because the students had to share classes with Central High School students. The teachers were not trained in Montessori, only a few, and this was true not just high school, but throughout the pre-K-12 system of Montessori that we had. We as a district had not been investing properly in our Montessori programming, thus it was struggling, and a group of parents and teachers came to us and said, we need to work on the growth of this program. It has great success academically, what can we do? And that's when we put together the Montessori Task Force. We came up with a group of recommendations that, among other things, said, how are we going to grow our program? And one of the first things we said we would do is we need to make sure that the teachers are all Montessori trained. We need to make sure that we bring fidelity to the high school, that it's not just a shared Montessori experience or it's half Montessori, half traditional. We need to make it a pure secondary school. And so over 2 years, there were 13 recommendations that were developed. And then none other than Superintendent Teresa Weatherall-Neal became superintendent in 2012. And she's being a little biased toward Montessori because her daughter went through Montessori, made a commitment to the Montessori parents and students and staff that we are going to double down. We're going to invest in our Montessori program. We're going to invest for stability and growth. The GRPS transformation plan talked of 3 goals. One was invest in what's working. We know Montessori was working, and it's now time to invest in it. We invest in our talent, retention, recruitment, development. We need to develop Montessori teachers. We need them to be trained and certified in Montessori method. And that was when Superintendent Weatherall-Neal made a commitment of $250,000 over 5 years to ensure all of our Montessori teachers were trained in Montessori. And she fulfilled that commitment. And that's something that we're continuing to invest in today. We also talked about expanding the program. So North Park Montessori at that time was a pre-K 6. And we said we know we need to develop the high school. So the transformation plan expanded North Park Montessori to be a pre-K 8. So we essentially have 2 pre-K 8s, Grand Rapids Montessori pre-K 8, North Park Montessori pre-K 8, feeding into Grand Rapids Montessori High School. And so the idea there was to continue to grow the program. Well, not only did that work, but we ended up having to reopen an early childhood center just like this called Wellerwood, which we had closed as part of the transformation plan. We had to reopen that to accommodate the remarkable growth at North Park Montessori. North Park Montessori is one of our single top performing schools in the district, as is Grand Rapids Montessori. We continue to see that growth. Actually, it's right here. So we opened up well and went to accommodate the Children's House. And then just last year, and it may have come as a surprise, many of you may have read about it in the newspaper, when Teresa at her State of Our Schools address announced we're reopening Ridgemoor Park Montessori. We are investing for stability, we're investing for growth. You might recall, and you've heard this year, we've had the best year in 20 years at Grand Rapids Public Schools. This was the first year in more than 20 years we actually increased enrollment. That's huge. In the era of all the education reform and all the churn that's occurred in public education, we are one of very few large urban districts to stabilize and grow our enrollment. Along with that has come growth in test scores, growth in our student attendance. We've cut chronic absenteeism by 30% in the last 4 years. Our graduation rates are up 12% over the last 4 years. Going to gain another, we believe, 6% this year for a nearly 20-point gain in graduation rates. This is unheard of in urban ed across the state of Michigan. There's something very special that's happening in Grand Rapids Public Schools right now, and reopening of Ridgemoor Park is further sign, further example of this administration and this Board of Education's commitment to our neighborhoods, commitment to stability, to growth, and providing those school choice opportunities so all children, regardless of where they live in the city or in the region, they have access to these high-quality school choices. So, fall 2017, we will be opening all grades, pre-K through 6th grade, starting this fall. It is part of well, here's the growth. This gives you, look at this. Our high school, this is where it was dying on the vine. We had 3 students in high school. 3. We are now to nearly 100. 3,000% increase. Middle school, 240% increase. Elementary, total students, 160% increase in growth. There is a wait list of more than 200 students on average between Grand Rapids and North Park Montessori. The Montessori success story, their graduation rate, 2014-15, was 100%. Doesn't get any better than that. They've had a 27% increase in the graduation rate over the last 5 years. Their attendance among student attendance is among the best in the entire district, with 92% attendance. Test scores, we've had a 30% increase in the MSTEP proficiency, and it's among the top 10 in our MAT testing for reading and English language arts. It is a high quality, high performing education choice for you and for your children and for your grandchildren. Parent surveys, and we do these, we have active parent participation. So to see 98% feel welcome, 98% feel the staff care, 95% feel safe. These are safe, welcoming environments where the teachers love the children feel loved, the parents feel welcomed. One of our favorite, and she's on some of our TV ads, Ashima said they lived in Ada and they loved the Montessori method so much they sold their beautiful multi-acre lot to move to North Park in the neighborhood attendance area just so they could guarantee their child could still attend that school. There's been some changes in our admissions policy. We used to reserve 15% of the seats for out-of-district students that live outside the city of Grand Rapids. Because there's such demand now for our schools, our city residents, the city families came to us and said, hey, we're taxpayers. These are our schools. We want first dibs. And Superintendent Weather-O'Neill made that change last year. So when it comes to first round selection of students in our theme schools, kids who live in the city of Grand Rapids get first dibs over anyone who does not live in the city of Grand Rapids. So we're opening fall 2017, grades pre-K through 6. It's tuition free, K through 6. For pre-K, there can be free, but also a paid tuition portion of it. So there is tuition assistance for that preschool level. All the teachers will be Montessori trained. And I think that's probably the number one question we get the most from families is, we've heard it's a brand new school, are they gonna all be trained? We will guarantee that all the teachers will be Montessori trained. They're also guaranteed a spot at the Grand Rapids Montessori. So once they graduate from 6th grade, we're creating a feeder pattern where they will automatically be able to go right into 7th grade at Grand Rapids Montessori and persist to graduate at their 12th grade year. This only has the capacity for about 150 students, so it's going to be a small school, which we know, based on UPrep and some of the other schools that have small class sizes, it'll be a small, intimate school environment with only 150 students. And then there's also regional themed school transportation. Much like all of our other themed schools, we want these schools to be as accessible as possible from throughout the city. So there'll be multiple regional theme stops throughout the city. And Edna, you have the sheet there. Can you read off what are the stops there? I should have it up here.
Brookside Elementary, Buchanan Elementary, Burton Elementary, Cesar Chavez Elementary, Kendall Shea Elementary, Martin Luther King Academy, and Newark Park.
So those are the regional transportation hubs. So a student can go there, catch the yellow regional theme bus to come here and go home. So it's virtually accessible, predominantly on the south side of town where the majority of those spots are, because North Park is on the north side. But we're pleased to provide that regional theme school transportation. So renovations, we're getting $1.5 million of renovations to this facility. Among other things, a brand new playground, a new roof, new boiler, classroom improvements, which will include paint, likely flooring, as well as technology. Thanks to the voter-approved bond from last November, we had $175 million the voters approved. 1.5 of that is going into making sure this facility is ready for children day one in fall of 2017. And there is a neighborhood attendance area. So for those of you that live in the Ridgemoor Park neighborhood, which you can see here, this is pretty much everything that's in the city of Grand Rapids. Those students that live there get first dibs. They're guaranteed a slot at the school because they're a neighborhood resident. The rest of the students will be required to apply through the traditional theme school process. So if you live inside the attendance area, all you've got to do is fill out an enrollment form just like you would for a normal neighborhood school. You don't have to go through a big application process and a random computerized lottery. Your student is essentially guaranteed a slot here if you live in the neighborhood. Living outside it, you will need to complete a theme school center of innovation application. This is what all of our theme schools and centers of innovation are application schools. It's a simple online or paper application, about 2 pages. Fill it out, you can click submit, or you can turn it in via mail or to the Student Services Department. The first round deadline is January 31st, 2017. I'm reluctant to say first round deadline because all of our theme schools, well, certainly all of our Montessori schools, always have waiting lists. So you really don't want to hope and wait for the second round selections, which could happen in February or March. They happen continuously until the school is full. So this deadline, January 31st, this is you want to have your application in on time or before that. That's available at apply.grps.org, or you can go to any of our GRPS schools, or you can go to the Franklin campus and get a paper copy there.